Thank you for joining. Hi. So in today's live, we're going to be talking about schooling in Ireland and the opportunities that abound in the Republic of Ireland. My name is Roslyn. If you've been following our page of recent, then you must have seen me on live, on a couple of lives, right? So here I am today again, coming to talk to you about Ireland. So if you're interested in Ireland, or you have family members who you feel might be interested in the information I'm going to be sharing today, then please stay till the end. You're going to have the opportunity to ask me questions that you're going to get immediate answers to. So I'm just going to wait a bit for us to have a bit more people join on before I start giving you all the juicy details about what opportunities exist for you in Ireland. If you've been thinking of going to study abroad, Ireland is one of those countries that you also want to consider. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm in your DM. Okay, thank you very much. Someone is going to attend to you in our DM. So Ireland is one of those countries you really want to consider and see if it actually fits your criteria of what you want in a country, or in a study abroad destination. So if the information I'm going to be sharing here is going to fit what you're looking at for a country you would like to study abroad and possibly stay back in, then Ireland might be that country for you. So when we get up to 10 people on this live, I'm going to start sharing information that I have gathered for you, so that you can now make that decision for yourself. So we're still waiting. Okay, I think so that we don't waste too much time, because I'm seeing it fluctuates up and down. I'm sure people are going to join as we go on with information that we're sharing here. So why do you want to study abroad? That's the first question you need to ask yourself when you're thinking of studying abroad. And then what are the things you want to actually do for yourself? What are the opportunities that you want to avail yourself of? Is it back in Nigeria, or in the country where you're going to study, or even in a third country that you're looking to go and study? So the things that you have to consider are their immigration policies in the country you're going to, language requirements. Are you going to be able to communicate effectively? Is English a primary form of communication? The courses that are available, do they align with your previous experiences and your previous study and your future prospects? Have you looked at the job market in the country where you're going to, or in Nigeria, or even in the world at large, to see if having a postgraduate degree or even an undergraduate degree, if you're thinking of going for an undergraduate degree, have you looked at what the job prospect for such a course would provide? So those are the things you're going to be looking at when you're thinking of studying abroad. Now, we all know that for a while now, the UK has been a number one destination choice for people who are thinking to study abroad, and Ireland has not really come up in their minds because they do not know of the opportunities that actually abound in Ireland. And I'm going to be sharing these opportunities with you today. First off, I'm going to talk a bit about Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. Now, please do not confuse Ireland with Northern Ireland. They are separate. Would I call them separate countries? Now, the Republic of Ireland is a country, a small country that is on the island of Ireland and is part of the European Union. English is their primary form of communication. They also have their own indigenous language, but English is their main form of communication. Now, you have, and their Capital is Dublin. Now you have the Northern Ireland. Now Northern Ireland is one of the countries that make up the United Kingdom, right? So you have England, you have Wales, you have Scotland, and you have Northern Ireland. Those are the countries that make up the United Kingdom. So if you want to study Northern Ireland, then it means you have to apply to the UK. And the principles and all the things that apply to studying in the UK will also apply in studying in Northern Ireland. The capital of Northern Ireland is Belfast. While if you're coming to the Republic of Ireland, it's a completely separate country. However, Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland are situated on the same island, right? So they are on the same island. They are just divided. One is part of the UK and one is a country on its own. So I just wanted to get that clear so that you people are not confused when I'm calling Ireland Ireland and you're thinking that I'm still talking about a country in the UK, right? So why would you want to study in Ireland, right? Ireland is a small country, but a country that is doing very relatively well. Now, it is a country that has been able to attract a lot of investors, a lot of investments from big companies. In fact, it's almost like the capital of the IT world, whereby most IT companies, the big IT companies, either have one of their main offices or their head offices situated in Ireland, such as Google, Twitter, Facebook, all of them, Microsoft. They're all, in Dublin, Ireland. Why? Because the country is very welcoming and conducive for them. And what does this entail? It entails that for a country so small with about how many people? Maybe if I'm getting this right, I'm trying to look at the information here so I'm right, but I'm thinking the country is about 5 million. I'm just going to get that so the country, like I said, the country is about 5 million, which is about 4.937 million, about a country of about 5 million, right? And you have most of the world's biggest companies situated in this country. So what does that entail? It entails that there are lots and lots of jobs, lots and lots of opportunities for you if you're thinking of actually going to that country to study and have the intention of staying back to find work, right? So that is the key when you're thinking of going to Ireland, because of the opportunities that exist. Now, what is the catch? The catch is if you go into Ireland to study for 1 year, just like in the UK, you also get a 2-year post-study work visa. Now, this post-study work visa can enable you to get a job, a permanent job, and with a permanent job, you can go on to apply to stay there, get a work visa and stay there longer than the 2 years post-study work visa and eventually get permanent residency. So that's how it works. So going to study a postgraduate degree in Ireland can actually see you staying there permanently. And like I said, with a country of less than 5 million people, with so much companies and so much job prospects, you are most likely to actually find a job when you study in Ireland. Now, what are those courses that are very lucrative if you are thinking of studying in Ireland? If these are courses that are dear to you or you have had experiences in, then you want to start thinking of considering Ireland as your study abroad destination. So if you're in the health or social care, if you're in business, finance, that's something key. If you're in tech, very key, very, very key. If you're in engineering, also very key, right? So people that within the space, people that have previous degrees or previous work experience within this space, this is an opportunity for you to actually study in a country that needs your skills, needs your expertise, and has the opportunity ready at hand. Now, what is the catch, right? I've talked about the good things in Ireland. I've talked about the fact that it's a small country doing very well in Europe, has one of the best passports, and is part of the EU, which means that once you're in Ireland, you can visit all countries that are within EU, right? And there's so much more opportunities, that exist, studying in Ireland. Now, but what is the catch? Now, for a lot of people studying abroad, they want to have an idea of how possible it is for them to actually move with their family. So if you have a wife or a husband and you have kids, you are thinking, okay, I want to go abroad and I want to move with my family. How possible it is this? Now, unfortunately for Ireland, you cannot go with your dependents. Unlike in the UK and Canada and US and Australia, where you can actually travel with your dependents, you cannot go with your dependents into Ireland if you want to study. Why? Because the laws do not permit people on a study visa for postgraduate degrees or undergraduate degrees to go with their dependents. However, there are things, if it's for a PhD, there are ways that you can actually go with your family. But anything lower than a PhD, you cannot go with your family. So if you're someone who is thinking about relocating and you want to relocate with your family, then unfortunately you cannot go to Ireland. However, when you are done with your program, your 1-year program, and you have switched to your 2-year visa, you can, and then you get a job, you can then bring on your family. So it's just having to wait longer before your family can join you in Ireland, right? So that's the catch. You cannot bring them along with you while you study, but when you switch and get a job, you can actually bring them to be with you. So you have to wait a period between a year, 6 months or thereabout before your family can come and join you. So that is the catch. For a country that offers so much, advantages and possibilities, if you're a married person, then you need to think about that. Now, so I know you might be interested in the tuition fee, what kind of schools, courses and all that. That's what I'm going to be talking about now. So for tuition fee, Ireland ranges between, they use euro not pounds because it's part of the EU, right? Ireland ranges between 10,000 euros, to like 15,000 euro. However, there are schools that actually cost way more than that, even up to 25,000 euros, right? But on the average, you can find schools between 10 to 15,000 and even have options of discounts depending on the school, depending on the course, maybe if it's medical or a tech course, and depending on your grade. So if you're in a first class, second class, second class lower, second class upper, this can actually make them extend sending offers to you of discounts, maybe like 1,000, 2,000, 15, pounds, $15, euro. I don't know why euro is so hard for me to remember. Maybe because I talk about UK a lot. So 1,000 euro. So you can actually get discounts. Then another thing is, unlike say Canada or UK or other schools, you actually have to pay your tuition in full, right? So if you're paying say 12,000 euros, you have to pay it in full. However, for the purpose of getting your visa, you don't actually have to pay it in full. You have to have paid up to 60% of your school fees for you to be able to apply for visa. But before you travel, before you can leave Nigeria and land in Dublin or whichever airport you're going to be landing in Ireland, you have to have paid your school fees completely. Okay. Sorry about that. You have to have paid your school fees completely. So that's the catch. So there is no option. Good afternoon, King Dami. Thank you. So you have to have paid your tuition completely. So that's the catch. And then secondly, when you're applying for your visa, you have to show a bank statement of up to 6 months. Now this bank statement has to show your maintenance fee. That's the money you're supposed to have for the duration of your study, which is 7,000 euro. So you have to have an equivalent of 7,000 euro maintained for a duration of 6 months. Now, the good thing about this that you might not be able to find in other countries is that you can have a family member, who can sponsor you or act as a sponsor. So it can be your dad's brother, your dad's sister, your mom's brother, your mom's sister, you know, a nephew or something, an aunt, right? So what you have to do is show relationship. Now if you can prove relationship, that this person is actually related to me and has decided to actually sponsor my education in terms of the maintenance cost, then it can fly. So it doesn't necessarily have to be you or your parents or your spouse that is sponsoring your education. It can be a family member. You just need to prove. So that is the catch. Then another thing that is a catch, you know, that you have to prepare for, is that for most admission processing in Ireland, you might actually need an IELTS result. Now, it is possible for you to waive this if you can prove that you're having thoughts in English and you can actually speak English. So you can actually go ahead and get an offer of admission into a school in Ireland. However, for the purpose of getting your visa, you will need to submit an IELTS result. IELTS or Duolingo. I don't know if any of you know about Duolingo. Yeah, so you will need to submit a test of English result. So if it's IELTS, you need to submit a result that is not lower than an overall band of 6, and no one individual band must be lower than 5.5, right? So those are the catch. Now these are things that some people hear and like, oh, I don't want to write an English exam, or oh, I don't have maybe 6 months bank statement, or I don't want to pay the full tuition, you know. But these are the catch, because Ireland is such a great place, you know. They want to make sure that it's people that are really serious that wants to go there. But trust me, you will not regret if you're actually qualified to go to Ireland and you decide to go to Ireland. It is not a decision that you're going to regret, because Ireland is a very safe country, a very prosperous country, an English speaking country, so you don't have to start learning a language. Eventually you can actually get to bring in your family if that is something that you're considering. And if you do have the money to pay your full tuition, which is going to be in euro, not pounds, so obviously it is slightly cheaper than what you'll find in a UK school, then you can go ahead and do that. Mind you, you can also work while schooling. So you have 20 hours of work week while school is in session, and 40 hours of work week while school is out of session. So you can still go in and make your money. And as a student, there are a lot of concessions given to you, a lot of discounts on transportation, on housing, on feeding, you know, in health insurance. So there's a whole lot of things given to you, right, as a student in Ireland. So for instance, if you're applying to the UK, you have to pay upwards of 1,000, or maybe about $1,000 for your IHS. For Ireland, you don't have to pay that much. It's about £120 euro. So you see that you're actually saving money in areas that for the UK you would have spent, and you don't need that much for proof of funds. So 7,000 euro is probably around 3 or so million, or not even up to 3 million if we're using bank rates, you know, probably about 3 point something million if we're using bank rates, official rates, to actually calculate this funds. So you find out that at the end of the day, you do not actually need as much money as you would need if you were going to the UK, if that was what you were considering, right? And you do have as much, if not more, opportunities in Ireland, as well as having access to almost all of Europe, because they are part of the EU, you know, on that student visa, right? So what documents do you need for admission if you're thinking of going to Ireland? You need normally your certificate, your transcript, you need your international passport, you need your CV, you need an academic reference, and a work reference. In most cases it's important, especially for certain courses, so you might need a work reference. Then your statement of purpose. You really do need your statement of purpose as to why you actually want to study this course. Your CV. Okay, I think I already mentioned your CV. So these are the documents you're going to be needing for admission. Now, what do you do after you've gotten your admission. What you do is get your school fees paid at least up to 60%, get the documents needed to apply for visa, and then go ahead and apply for your visa. Now, mind you, Ireland is a very thorough country when it comes to visa application. They are very thorough and they love documentation. So there are a lot of things you need to put into place to ensure that your documentation is right before you submit. So for instance, like I said earlier, your family member can sponsor you if you can prove relationship. So how do you prove relationship? So for instance, if your mom's brother is sponsoring you, you can have your dad's birth certificate and his brother's certificate, who is your uncle, as proof of relationship, to show that they actually have the same parents, or at least one of the parents is the same, right? So you can do that. Now, your uncle, who is also sponsoring you, has to actually show what he does. So if he's a business owner, he needs to show his business registration details. He needs to show evidence of probably things that he has done, what he sells, pictures, invoices, evidence basically of what he does. That if he's an employee, he needs to show employment details, employment records. The bank statement has to show how his salary gets into the account and stuff like that. So they're really big on documentation. And for you as well, if you finished school, say maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you also need to write a personal statement for your visa application, explaining what you have been doing between the period of when you graduated from school and now. So they always want to know what you've been doing. And if, for instance, you have a picture of you and your uncle years back, that also goes to show or prove relationship, to say, okay, this person really knows me, this person has been in my life for this amount of years or for this period and is willing to sponsor me. Do you get? So if you fall within that category, then yes, you can actually go ahead and apply for Ireland. So what other opportunities are there for because I've been talking about postgraduate study for undergraduates. Ireland is also a great place for undergraduate study. Their courses are around 3 years, just like in the UK, and there's lots of opportunities even as an undergraduate person. However, you only get a 1-year post-study work visa after you have finished your program. So very soon I'm going to give you opportunities to ask questions. Please, you can even drop it out. I can scroll back up and attend to the questions once I am done with the information session. That's King Danny. So King Danny. So let me pronounce your name right. So like I was saying, so if you're here as a parent, if you're here as an aunt, if you're here as someone who is listening on behalf of your brother or your sister who is graduating from secondary school currently, or currently in maybe 100 level or a foundational program, when you're thinking of Ireland, it is a very, 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 I don't know how to explain this, very good country. Yes, there might be some hurdles, say because of full tuition and the visa application issues, but trust me, if you can actually scale those hurdles, it's one of the best decisions that you're going to make. Stay in a place that is serene, safe, not overly populated, lots and lots of opportunities, and a good catch. For instance, in the UK or even in the US or Canada, when you're done with school and you have a job, your office or your work has to actually file for your work visa. They have to file for your work visa. But you know that in Ireland, you can file for yourself? Yes. Once you have a job, your job doesn't necessarily have to want to file for you. You can file for yourself and say, yeah, I have a job and I want to file for myself. So you don't actually have to wait for your employer to want to see you permanently in that country for you to file. You can go ahead and file for yourself. Isn't that great? Now, it removes the desperation for you to want to find certain kind of jobs in countries that would require the country, the employee, require the employer to file for you. And that's why a lot of people at the end of their post-study work permit, they have to come back because they've been working years, but they haven't found either a company that has the license to file, or the company that is willing to actually file for you, because they feel like, okay, even if you go, someone else can come and take your job, because there are a lot of people that have these certain skills that you have. Do you get? But in Ireland, you can file for yourself, and after your study you can actually have your family with you if the idea of your family not being with you is something that is not palatable in your mouth. Yeah, if you're married, you can actually have your family with you once you're done with your studies. So I think I've actually gone through all I have prepared for you. So now I'm going to allow you ask questions if you have questions. I think King Dami said he had 2 questions, so I'm just going to attend to those questions, and then if any other person has a question, please just go ahead and drop it. I will be attending to you. I think I still have about 25 minutes, and yeah, so I'm scrolling up to see if there are any questions that I might have missed. So Weezy Daddy says, I'm in your DM. Okay. Weezy Daddy says, I want you to enlighten me on something. Please go ahead and share. I'm perfectly open to answering your question. Good afternoon. Okay, King Danny, please go ahead and ask your questions. So while I'm waiting, I'm just going to share a bit of information. I think I've actually prepared. If I can just get my hands on these things. So I'm waiting for your question. King Danny, if you have your questions, please go ahead and ask. If you're interested. Okay, so something I forgot to also include is that if you're thinking of scholarships, well, yeah, there are scholarships available, but usually limited. Well, I wouldn't say limited, but they're usually found in STEM courses. So if you don't understand what STEM means science, technology, engineering, and maths. So those kind of courses, related courses, usually have opportunities for scholarship in some institutions. So these are opportunities that you can avail yourself of if you currently either have a degree, if you're going for a postgraduate degree, if you already have a degree and you have a good result. So a high 2-1, that would be evidence of a good result. If you have had maybe previous working experience in that particular space or in that particular field, or you have done related work, even though it's volunteer or a freelance or something, then you can actually use that to apply for scholarships in some schools. So those scholarships usually would be in form of fee waivers. So you might have a chunk of your school fees waived, or you can even have 100% sponsorship in terms of school fees, right? But these opportunities are very limited, and you have to show that you are academically sound, for you to actually qualify to earn those scholarships. So if that's what you're looking at, or you have something that is very, very brilliant, then these are opportunities that they can actually consider. Okay, so King Dami, what if a friend in Ireland decides to sponsor the person by giving a sponsorship letter? Will the embassy recognize it? So for sponsorship for the purpose of study, usually it has to be your family, right? Now it doesn't matter where this family member is. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Nigeria. The person, as long as the person is legally living in the country that they are domiciled in. So let's say the person is in Ireland or in the UK or in the US, they are legally living there. They're not illegals, right? They have the appropriate work visa. So they can provide this. They can provide their bank statements. They can provide their work work or business documentation, and then a letter of sponsorship. Now, in the case of a friend, it might not suffice because you might not be able to prove, relationship, right? It has to be family relationship for you to prove. And I wouldn't know the kind of friendship that you have, or if the person is way older than you, to say, okay, maybe the person has been like a godfather kind of relationship or something like that. But if it's just a friend, then it might not fly. However, you can still send us a message, and then we can still look into it to see exactly what kind of relationship you have with this person, what kind of job the person does, because the person will have to provide very key and sensitive information, to actually prove their source of income, prove their job, prove the relationship and all that. So is the person willing to share all those kind of details with you, for you to see everything, right? So you can actually send us a DM, and then we can find out, what exactly the person does, the relationship with you, and if it can fly. But like I said before, you have to be able to pay your full tuition. When you get the admission, you have to be able to pay your full tuition. He said it's a friend. Can the UK embassy accept it too? So no, UK embassy does not accept sponsorship from anybody except you or your parents, or if you have a spouse, you have a joint account, as a married couple, you have a joint account. So your husband or wife can say, okay, they are also giving you permission to use the money in their account. Your parents can sponsor you, and you can sponsor yourself. That is for the UK, right? They don't accept any other person, nobody. They don't believe anybody will want to help you in such a regard as to sponsor your education, especially because for the UK, in most cases, you just only pay a stipend when you're talking about your tuition. There's only a stipend of your school fees you have paid. You have to go to get to the UK to pay the rest. So it's usually not small money. No, but for something like Ireland, the bulk of the money is already paid. You've paid your full tuition in most cases, and the balance is just £7,000 that you're using for maintenance cost. So £7,000 is like 3 to 4 million or less. So this is something that somebody can conveniently say, okay, I'm sponsoring this person with this amount of money. This is my own support. School fees is out. But for UK, in most cases, school fees is still included, and most times it's still over £10,000. And before you now include the cost of living, if it's inside London, you're talking about £12,006, or if it's outside London, £9,207. Now, when you're adding £12,000 maybe tuition balance and £9,000, that's about £21,000, and pounds is higher than euro, if you know. So that's a lot of money, right? So you cannot say a friend wants to sponsor you with that, or a colleague or an aunt or a sister or a brother. They will not accept. It has to be a parent. It has to be a parent. It has to be a spouse as a joint account. Okay, so you say you would like to call. Please go ahead and call live, and then you can ask your question live, and I'll attend to it live. If it's fine, you can request to join, and I will accept your requests. Okay, so how long does the visa take? The visa for Ireland takes 6 to 8 weeks. So unlike maybe the UK that takes about 3 weeks, Ireland takes about 2 months, right? Canada takes about 3 months to 6 months, So depending on the country, but for Ireland, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks, ideally, for your visa to come out. Sorry, I think I don't know. Okay, yeah. And it was at the intake period. So we have the September intake, and we have the January intake, just like you have in other countries. And for the September intake, because visa takes so long and the processing takes a while, it will be advisable to start your admission processing really early, because admission processing for most schools is going to be ending in April, May. So if you're actually thinking of studying, or you have someone who wants to study in Ireland for 2022, they need to start their application process now, because come ending of April, early May, most schools are already done with their admission intakes, and you will not be able to get admission. So if you have very interested people around you, or you yourself, you're interested, please contact us and ask relevant questions that you need to actually make up your mind to know if the UK is actually a study destination for you, right? Sorry. To know if Ireland, of course, I'm seeing someone asking a question of UK, so I called UK, sorry. So to know if Ireland is actually a study destination for you, so I'm going to answer this question now. Hope they won't change the visa rules for UK, as UK is not very attractive. Well, nobody can say. Nobody can actually know what decisions they're going to arrive at, because there are certain things that they would have noticed, and based on people that are already there and the things that are happening currently, they might want to put more restrictions on certain rules. They might want to extend the amount of months you have to show your proof of funds. They might want to do anything. They might want to ask anything. So nobody can actually say. The only thing is, as at the time, that's why you have to actually have to do it on time, because these things change, and most times they change overnight. You can wake up one morning and there has been a publication or an announcement saying that so rule now applies, and it might even be country specific. So it might not even it might not be a blanket rule to say the immigration or visa rules have changed. It might be the visa rules have changed for this particular country, for people applying for so visas. So you cannot say. So the only thing that you can do is take advantage of whatever is currently happening now, so that if there's going to be any change, it does not affect you. That's the only thing I can say. Nobody can stop them from changing their rules. For UK proof of fund, is it compulsory POF use more than a month? No. That's what we're talking about Ireland here, but I'm going to answer your question here. For UK proof of fund, is it compulsory the proof of fund use more than a month? Okay, I think what you're trying to ask me is, does your proof of fund, the bank statement, does it have to show the balance in your account for more than a month? No, you only need to show it for a minimum of 28 days. So as long as it's up to 28 days and above, say maybe 29, 30 days, you can go ahead and print your statement and use it to apply for your visa, right? That is what the UK requires. It does not require you to show more than 28 days worth of bank statements, right? Bank statement records. Unlike Ireland, that requires you to show a bank statement of 6 months. However, the balance of your bank statement, they differ. So for the UK, while you're showing bank statement of 18 million, 20 million, 30 million, depending on how many dependents you have, and depending on the kind of school you're going to in terms of the fees for the balance of your tuition fee. For Ireland, you only need to show €7,000. €7,000 that you're supposed to use as your maintenance cost. So what you're showing for the duration of 6 months, is less than 4 million naira. Obviously, you have to have more than 4 million naira, right? But I'm just saying that what that you're going to be using for the duration of 6 months, is less than 4 million naira. So it's not as stressful as when you have to show like way more than that for the UK.